Welcome to today's AI Mastermind for Business Leaders. It's a real pleasure to have the opportunity to host this event again, and I'm happy to see so many people taking the time, an opportunity to learn how AI can impact you and your business. So a few reminders. If you could keep your microphone muted unless you're asking a question, this will be an interactive session, so I will encourage people to ask questions. Just raise your hand. You should see a little icon that resembles this. Also, the replay will be made available to you at the end. So yeah, you'll have access to all the material from today. Cool. So I'm Nino Giambalvo. For those of you that haven't met me, I've spent over 10 years in tech and leadership roles. Over the past sort of 18 months, I've spent over 100 hours working with various professionals in different industries on how to use ChatGPT more effectively in their role. That's come a long way from when I first founded my business over 10 years ago. I didn't think that I'd be working on AI, but here I am. I'm excited to share all my knowledge and experience with you. So a little breakdown of what we're going to be doing today. I have updated this from past weeks. I know some of you may have seen this sort of slide before. Today, I wanted to focus on why traditional AI adoption methods often fail to deliver ROI. I think there's a lot of misconception around AI and AI adoption, so I'm hoping today we'll address some of those. How to empower your operational teams with AI skills. Ultimately, the goal of any training or any AI adoption is to try to make the business run better, more effectively, more efficient. And so today I'm going to show you how you can enable your teams to have AI skills that ultimately drive productivity gains. And also how AI can actually help you do that. So how do you streamline processes? How do you uncover opportunities for how to do your work better and faster? And then finally, I will introduce to you the AI transformation method. This is to go from AI ready, which everyone should be already. Everyone has access to some kind of AI tool that they can use already. How do you go to AI enabled? How do you go from, novice to AI powered in your role and in your business? So I like to start always with a common misconception related to the topic today. Seeing ROI, return on investment from your AI projects, requires heavy investment in technology. So this might sound a bit counterintuitive, but there is a big misconception that in order to use AI in your business, you need to train your own models or like get teams in to like replace systems and workflows with AI. This requires quite a lot of expertise. And actually, 3 or 4 years ago, this would have been true. In order to enable you to use AI in your business, you have teams of data scientists and data engineers with a whole bunch of infrastructure and a lot of data to use and create models that could ultimately like classify and predict and everything else that we're used to seeing machine learning and algorithms do. 15% of companies say they're seeing generative AI have a meaningful impact on their businesses. 15% is really low, in my opinion. It's good to see that people have started to adopt AI, but like for where we are with the technology and how capable it is, this should be a lot higher. So I wanted to cover some of the key reasons why AI projects fail to deliver ROI. The first being quite a key one, and this is that your AI strategy in your business doesn't necessarily align with your business goals. So what does that actually mean? So there's a lot of companies that say, AI is the new thing, like it's getting a lot of headlines. We really need to think about how we can incorporate this into our services so that we can, show to our customers, show to our new prospective clients that we do AI as well. And that will mean that we are better than ultimately our competition. A lot of the times these projects don't actually align with the vision of what the business is trying to do. And so that is one key reason why things fail. The second is about pilot programs being siloed by departments. So a lot of the time in businesses, again, because there is this misconception that, AI requires a lot of like heavy investment in technology, it's often siloed in teams that are like within the technology side of the department. So like business, like parts of the business that are already quite tech savvy, they necessarily are the people that maybe feel closest to it. And so in the end, like, they work on a project to deliver something for the business that ultimately doesn't get the buy-in all of the business because everyone else doesn't understand AI. And so they never get included in the discussions. So that is one of the big reasons why projects fail to deliver. The third is a lack of internal AI expertise. So do people understand how to use AI? Do people understand why you're using AI in the first place? What is it that you're trying to achieve? AI literacy, and I kind of reference it here. AI literacy means that you will be able to, in your role, execute all your deliverables using AI. So you're AI powered in your role, AI enabled. There aren't many businesses as it stands at the moment that have this, and I'll touch on this as I go through the session today. The fourth reason is poor data. A lot of people don't necessarily even capture any data in their business. Like you might be a non-tech business and ultimately have never seen really the purpose of storing data. But these could be touch points with customers. These could be methodologies, SOPs, work instructions, all kinds of things. And it doesn't have to be information that is confidential to your clients. Ultimately, there's a lot of stuff around your business, a lot of methodologies and processes that are normal business processes that capture data. And so that is one reason why projects fail, because there just isn't this focus on data. Number 5, unrealistic expectations for quick wins. So when people usually try to find pilot projects for AI within their business, they kind of go, right, let's have a look at 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 ideas across the business. And they try to understand which ones are going to be the quick wins. A lot of the time, they don't necessarily understand what AI can do for them. And so they have unrealistic expectations. And so they pick the wrong projects. And often that leads to, a rabbit hole where the project ends up failing because they're just not able to translate it into something that works in production. Number 6, lack of leadership support. There's a lot of people in a lot of businesses, around the UK and around the world that are trying to play with AI within their role, within what they need to deliver in their day-to-day operations. But people at the top of the business don't necessarily support this. This means that, they might have limited access to training. They might have limited access to the right tools that they need to be able to operate effectively and introduce AI into their roles. This might be something as simple as, having an enterprise license that allows you to ring fence your data from your business. Without leadership support, these projects don't go very far, unfortunately. The 7th and the last one I wanted to cover is difficulty scaling. So a lot of the time, you're able to get something to work in a very small, isolated situation. Unfortunately, deploying an AI project is much, much more complicated than that. And so, a lot of these tie together, and a lack of internal AI expertise is definitely something that contributes to difficulty scaling the project, as well as siloed. When you try to deploy it to the whole business, it just doesn't work because, they were never involved in creating it to begin with. I believe that all of these issues and these problems that ultimately people find when they try to adopt AI projects would disappear with AI literacy. If people across the business at every level of an organization knew how to use AI for themselves in their role, a lot of these issues go away. And so I'd like to start today with a demo that ultimately addresses this, like how powerful is AI? What can it actually do? In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how AI knows your job, how it can help you do it faster and easier for every single deliverable, for every single role in every single organization. I would appreciate in a second some feedback from the audience but I will. So let's go. So I would like to introduce to you the concept of an AI role plan. So what is an AI role plan? When you start to think about AI as your assistant to execute in your day-to-day operations, rather than just a tool that like may help you with a certain aspect of part of your job. I know that there's a lot of tools out there that show you different things. Could I get a volunteer from the audience? I'd like to show you how you can create an AI role plan, get all your deliverables listed out in an 8x8 matrix from just your LinkedIn profile. So if I could take a volunteer from the audience, anyone, if you raise your hand, it should flag for me. Volunteers? Okay. Right. Well, we'll work without a volunteer for now. Right. Okay. Will said I can pick on him, so let's do that. Right. Let me pull up your LinkedIn, Will. Okay. So hopefully on screen, you should see William's. Yeah. Right. I think I'm on track. Right. So let's have a look at his profile. So what we would do now is we would grab his about, paste this directly into this GPT. Hopefully, it should know that Will has a strong background in full stack development and a passion for improving web experiences. So what happens now, Will, is that these on screen, in theory, are your competencies. So these are different areas of responsibility within your role. And then underneath each of these are the key deliverables that you ultimately need to do and execute on a day-to-day basis. Does this seem accurate? Just having a look at it. Looks good. Great. Is there any of these that you think you'd be interested in seeing explained on how AI can help you do that specific key deliverable?
Finally got my mic working, I hope. Yay.
Yep, I can hear you now. Great.
Yay. So there was a section slightly further down on team skills and team retrospective. Those two would probably be the ones that I would lean on the most, where I don't feel they are particularly strong, like ultra strong strengths. They're things I can do, but that I'm not great at. So having some assistance there would be helpful.
Okay, wicked. I'd quite like to see the skills matrix if you're cool with that.
Yep.
Cool. So what it'll do now is it will explore this deliverable. So the suggested format is a spreadsheet, which is interesting. Allow you to categorize, track proficiency levels, and note developer areas for each team member. So the outline of the document defines skills and competencies, create a proficiency scale, identify team members, assess current skill levels, track development areas, action plans for growth, review and update. Okay, so I think that seems pretty accurate for at least an outline. So let's see when it gives us a bit more of a breakdown. So this is essentially now our work instructions, so like an SOP. Okay, so define skills, how to actually do this. Brainstorm the essential skills for each role, full stack development, project management, communication, categorize skills into technical. Okay, so actually looks pretty good. Outline, comprehensive list of skills, proficiency scale, beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert. Identify the people, assess the current levels, conduct self-assessments, peer review. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, this is looking good.
Action plans for growth, review and update. Okay, wicked. So I guess the bit that we really want to know is what would this look like as like an AI enhanced or AI enabled workflow? So what we'll do now is it will tell you how, again, I'm not saying, I'm not sure if you have a virtual assistant, but I imagine you could cover the VA's part of this role. What it does, it breaks this down into three. So it says what ChatGPT can do, what a VA trained with ChatGPT can do, and what you would still need to do as the kind of the expert in the team. So for the initial bit, it can obviously generate a list of technical, non-technical skills. You would then tailor that based on what your specific team needs, and then ultimately you would refine that and adjust what it is that you want to see at the end. Proficiency scale, it can suggest the scales, identify the team members. It realizes that it can't do this because it doesn't have anything about your team, which is good. Suggest questions for self-assessment, peer review, gauge skill levels, identify gaps by comparing skill levels to role expectations. Quite a lot of stuff. Suggest online courses, certifications, mentoring opportunities for specific skill gaps. Yeah, I think what we're seeing is a very methodical attempt by the AI to break this down, and it does a pretty good job. So I think at that stage, once you say, okay, there's all these things that it can help me with, how does that affect how long it actually takes to do something like this? So it now does a breakdown of each of those different areas that like sort of the step-by-step process of these work instructions, and works out, without AI, how long would it take? With AI, how long would it take? And how much time you would save at every step. So 2 to 3 hours goes down to 30 minutes, which is quite a big saving. 1 to 2 hours goes down to 15 minutes. So I'm assuming at the end, this will now give us a nice little summary. There we go. So across this task, here are all the breakdowns of time saving and a summary. So without AI, it estimates that it would take 13.5 to 19.5 hours. With AI, you basically could get it done within a day. So it goes from like a 2 to 3 day workflow to a like less than 1 day workflow. How does that sound, William?
A lot less time.
Indeed. Cool. So let's see now across all of your role, how much time you could ultimately save if you were able to incorporate AI into all of your deliverables. So within a 160-hour window, which is about 4 weeks worth of work, this is how much time you would have been saving on each of these different areas. I find a lot of the time that this does a bit of an underestimates. I'll just say that instead. It underestimates the total time. So generate system design templates, technical specifications, API documentation faster, automate script planning. I mean, I know that it can do all of these things. And even since my time of actually being CTO, when I see all these things, I remember all the things that the teams had to do and how much quicker it actually will be once people realize that they can use AI for so much more than just those kind of headline grabbing projects. So across all of your deliverables, potential time saving, 53 to 68 hours. And this is only with ChatGPT, bearing in mind. Like I know that there are a lot of other tools for developers and for engineering and like developing software that incorporate AI already and ultimately will help you develop systems and the code faster. This is without taking that into account, just using GPT for like all of the other stuff around it. Ultimately, you're saving like a week and a half of a month's worth of work. There's a lot of talk at the moment around a potential, the government is looking at a 4-day week. And I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, well, in order for that, for all businesses to just say that that was like a thing that they were able to do, they would confidently want to say that everyone would be able to do what is 5 days work in 4 days. So a 25% productivity increase would mean that everyone could work a 4-day week. That is more than possible with AI. Once everyone has AI literacy in their role, like this is already saying that you're going to save like a week and a half. And this varies obviously role to role, right? You know, this as an engineer, maybe that's a bit more complicated to automate and help AI assist you in various parts of your role. I've seen this as high as, like I did a demo this morning, and this came out as something closer to 65% of the person's role could be assisted and sped up with AI. So great. Thank you very much, William, for participating in this part of the demonstration. I'll get back to the presentation now. So what does it mean? Like, how is this different from any other AI tool that you've heard before? Ultimately, this AI training is set to empower novices, so people that have never used AI. You don't have to be an engineer, you don't have to be a data scientist. You could be what you would call not tech savvy, which is like the go-to phrase that all non-tech people tell me. When I jump on a call with them, they're like, "Oh, I'm not sure about AI, like I'm not tech savvy." We guarantee actual productivity gains. So you learning how to use AI to actually execute your deliverables will increase the time it takes for you, or decrease the time it takes for you to execute on your day-to-day operations. We found that after the first hour of training, the annualized average gain in productivity per team member, when you annualize their salary against it, is over £3,000. But it's key to note that not every team member across your organization is going to get these kind of gains at the beginning. We find that, you know, as there always is with technology implementation and ultimately change in general, resistance. What we found though is that those people that resist, once they really see and feel empowered themselves, they're the biggest advocates. They're the people that come out and actually perform the best with it because they realize that they had nothing else to worry about. And actually empowers them. So I wanted to introduce a methodical approach to problem solving to you for the next demonstration. So I've created a GPT that covers this approach. It starts with problem refinement. GPT will ask us questions that will help refine what our problem is. So to understand what is our business challenge, it will then provide expert solutions. From those solutions, it will then create an action plan. And from that action plan, we will be able to execute using GPT as our vehicle to help guide us through the process of solving our problem. So we should be able to get from, I mean, a lot less than 15 minutes to get this started. So let me show my screen again. Problem to action plan. Great. So what this is ultimately not a tool that I'm trying to sell you, but ultimately to showcase to you what you will be able to create yourself, having completed only half of the training. So if we go to get started, I would happily take another volunteer from the audience if there's anyone around that is interested in having their business challenge solved. Maybe, is that you, Tony, wanting to speak? I think they're still muted. Okay. What we'll do is I'll use the example that was provided here. We'll maybe tweak it a little bit. So my kind of business should we try? My software consultancy business is trying to improve online customer engagement, improve project success rates, desired increase successful projects in an organization, or projects for our clients, by 25%. I'm also just making this up as we don't have an example to use, but it will hopefully showcase to you that methodical approach that I showed. And ultimately, what I've done is I've given this GPT a custom set of instructions to follow. So this could be something as simple as, introduction, introduces what it does, and then task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4, task 5, task 6. And its job is to just run through each of those tasks. Each of those tasks, which hopefully you'll see by the end of this, is able to follow and guide you through. So what do you think is currently impacting your project success rates the most? Client communications, expectations. This sometimes is quite a common reason why software projects fail. Internal processes and project management. Potentially also something that could be done. So let's say A and B for the purposes of this demo. What it will do as it's asking us questions is dynamically understand what we've answered in the previous question and then change the next question to make sure that it gathers more information. Because ultimately we could have said E and then given a whole explanation. Great. So which aspects of client communication, internal processes do you feel is the biggest hurdle right now? Defining clear project goals and requirements upfront with clients. I know that, for a lot of technical people that might have their own software, consultancies, that is something that is quite difficult. Technical people like myself, a lot of the time I used to find it quite difficult to articulate with the clients exactly what their requirements are in their language that they understand that is still comprehensive enough. So let's go with A. Managing client expectations throughout the project lifecycle. Yeah, let's do that as well. C, timelines. Let's do that as well. Ensuring team collaboration. Let's just go with these for now. Problem statement. Cool. So it thinks it's asked us enough questions to understand our project. Your software consultancy business is facing challenges with clearly defining project goals with clients, managing expectations throughout the project. Yeah, that's fine. I've just noticed the time. Okay, I might have to pause this demonstration. I realize I only have 10 minutes left, so I have some other stuff that I wanted to talk to you about. So let's get back to that. Apologies. If you're interested in that GPT, I can make the resource available to you after the event. So you can play around with it for yourself and see if it can help you with your business challenge. Cool. So now that you've realized that maybe it's not just a tool, and it's not a technology problem, it's actually a human problem. It's a psychological problem. This new technology that ultimately a lot of people will learn to adopt and be very confident and transformed with, everyone seems to start with a bit of indifference. You've kind of seen it, maybe you've played around with ChatGPT a little bit when it first came out, and you're like, you know what? This isn't really worth the hype. I can't really use this in my role. I'm not really that productive with it. The quality of the output isn't very high. So you're kind of a bit like, shrug your shoulders, doesn't matter. Then maybe you come to a webinar just like this and you realize that, wow, it's actually so much more capable than I thought. But I don't know how to use it. And then maybe fear sets in, like what's going to happen? I know that there's a lot of fear through misconception that, AI is going to come and take all our jobs. That is a big fear. And a lot of the time when companies begin to adopt AI and they do focus on these tools, actually what happens is they do strike a lot of fear into a lot of employees because they're like, wait a minute, what happens if they automate my job? What we found though is that if we focus on helping teams produce every single one of their role deliverables in their current role, they feel empowered. They go from fear to embarrassment that they don't know how to use it yet, to confidence, and ultimately that leads to transformation in your business. ultimately, it's not your fault that you don't know about this yet. All you see online is kind of like messages about like prompts that you can use, like here's my prompt library, like that solve all your business problems, tools for literally everything. And ultimately a lot of like headlines from the media. Unfortunately, none of these people are trying to make you more productive. And I actually did a search of AI tools versus AI literacy training. You'll be surprised, right, to know that literally no one is looking for AI literacy training versus, the amount of attention that AI tools. But this ultimately means that it's very difficult to see what a version of your role looks like once you've been empowered to use AI. So why now? Ultimately, AI is here and it's already transforming businesses. The question isn't, will AI impact your business? It's whether you will lead the charge in your industry, in your space. And if you're an individual, ultimately in you as an expert in your field. So you kind of have two options, lead and stay ahead of the curve, learn how to use this, become more productive, integrate it into your business and position yourself and your business at the forefront of innovation. Ultimately, this will really change how people in your business see their roles. It will free them to innovate and grow the business. Or you can wait, basically, and like not do anything yet. This ultimately will mean that you're not able to seize the opportunity that is in front of you. There's been a lot of times where technology, people talk about dot-com bubble, when social media first landed, you had all these profiles, even now YouTube. There's so many things in technology that allow you to get ahead in your business, and AI is no different. So this window of opportunity is open now, and ultimately it won't stay open forever. So the time to act is now for you and your business. So why should you trust me? Ultimately, we've been in your shoes. So I'm part of a community of over 100 executives that for their clients found that AI adoption was a challenge. What we found though, once we began to train people, is that really productive use cases came out from that education. And ultimately that transformed their businesses. So in a simple 3-step process, you create an AI role plan. So today we created one for Will to showcase his, 8x8 matrix of all his key deliverables. But once you start to think about AI adoption from the perspective of, you have a to-do list of all the things that you need to do and convert and optimize with AI. When you find the first one, you do that, you become more productive. You then move on to the second one. So starting with that overview is the step one. Step 2 is the AI black belt training. So this is the structured, methodical approach to AI adoption and learning AI role mastery. You go from a novice to being able to create AI agents by the midpoint to being able to connect it into your systems across your role. The third and probably one of the most important steps is actually to track your progress. The training enables you and encourages you at every stage as you start to learn how to execute and implement your deliverables using GPT or any of the other AI models. We actually start to track the productivity gains. This is invaluable for measuring ROI, but also to gain feedback on how far you've come and how far you still have to go. Ultimately, though, it creates a culture of never-ending continuous improvement within the organization. We found that a lot of the time those efforts are siloed within businesses. So it's important to get a culture across the organization that is inclusive and empowering for everyone. So are you ready to begin your AI journey? If you found this interesting, you can book an AI strategy session with me. We'll run through all the attendees, create tailored AI role plans for each individual. We can measure where you are on this journey, this AI adoption journey in your business, address any challenges that you might have had already, provide you with actionable next steps, and ultimately give you a competitive advantage in the future. So I'd also like to open this up for questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, begin to speak, whatever is easier. We have something come through. I would love to go through project management roles using your method. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It does a really good job of breaking down different roles within organizations. A lot of the time, if you had to ask every member across your organization, sat them down and said, I need you to make a list of all the things that you do in your day-to-day operation. What are all your deliverables? They would spend a very long time trying to do it, and it probably wouldn't be comprehensive. With AI, like I mean, as you see, it takes minutes. So yeah, really effective. Thanks, Vasilis. Any other questions? No, all good. Perfect. Cool. Well, just in time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to either reach me on LinkedIn, or you can email me with the email on screen. And yeah, if you're ready to start your AI journey and you're keen to learn more about the training, feel free to book an AI strategy session for yourself and other people within your team, and we'll get you started on your AI journey from AI novice to AI powered business.